So remember this play? This was an infamous play in NFL history. To set the stage, 6 seconds left. The Washington, then called Redskins, were at the 6-yard line. Only 6 seconds left, so what do you do here? They're just going to try and spike the football, kick a field goal, get another 3 points, and go into the half up 9. However, as you see, Cousins instead takes a knee for some reason. Why would he do that? So, it's a very humorous situation, right? I mean, he obviously was going into the play meaning to spike the ball, and for whatever reason, wires got crossed in his brain. He took a knee. Everyone's made a dumb mistake where, you look for your phone and then realize it's in your hand or something like that. He just happened to do it in an NFL game. But actually, there's a bit more to it than you might realize. So here's a quote from Jay Gruden. This was just this past year. It was on the Kevin Sheehan show. I'm getting this from an article courtesy of The Spun. But the quote is, "We had 6 seconds to go into half, so we had time for a back shoulder fade. Complete or incomplete, and kick the field goal." Gruden said, "I want to run out the clock. I want to take a shot for a touchdown. What the heck?" Pierre hated back shoulder fades. He hated them. He said, "If you call a fade, the ball should be 42 yards over my outside shoulder. That's the way Peyton Manning threw it in Indianapolis. That's the way I want it." So already very interesting stuff right here. I mean, Pierre Garçon, for whatever reason, being very particular about how he wants to run a certain fade, which means he won't do it in this situation. That just seems incredibly bizarre. And then, Kirk Cousins must have just gotten confused when something was happening. But what's incredibly interesting about this is I went back and I rewatched the play, and I also rewatched the play before it. I wanted to really get a sense of how things are going. And I didn't realize how insanely chaotic this last couple of plays were. It was the most chaotic thing I have ever seen in my entire life. Because the play before this one, Kirk Cousins also failed to spike the ball. So watch right here. This is how things went down. So this is the play before the infamous failed spike. So, a couple of things to note right here. One, watch how he's going to spike the ball, but he doesn't actually spike it. He keeps it in his hand the whole time. So, we're going to get back to that in a second. But first, I want to talk about Pierre Garçon. You see him right here. He's going to do another chaotic thing right here. Because, again, keep in mind, the way that Jay Gruden said this went down was that Garçon just never ran the route. Once he realized it's going to be a fade, it's not going to be the way he wants it, he just says, screw it, let's just kick the field goal, spike the ball, I don't want to deal with this. That's what Jay Gruden says. And I'm assuming it was around this time that happened and before that. But watch what Garçon is going to end up doing. In the confusion, he does start to run this route. And you also see Kirk Cousins try to run forward for a second before realizing, okay, no, that's not what you can actually do. You can't go forward after trying to spike the ball and failing somehow. This is absolute chaos. And for whatever reason, the refs just blow this play dead and say it's still first down. I love this shot of Chip Kelly just absolutely losing his mind. And honestly, I don't blame him. I've done a ton of searching just trying to figure out why exactly did this whole situation happen. I don't understand why Kirk Cousins didn't just, spike the ball and instead kept it in his hand the whole time. I also don't understand why the refs didn't count this. They were set up as though, okay, you can't go now. Then I said you can go. Kirk Cousins, takes the snap, doesn't spike the ball, which meant the play should have been live. And for whatever reason, it just isn't. And it wasn't even blown dead by a whistle. The play was over. No clue what was going on. This makes zero sense, and I can't seem to figure out any logical explanation for this craziness, because typically when something this crazy happens, people talk about it, in like the press conferences and stuff, but obviously due to the next play, no one cares about this one. So Cousins already 0 for 1 on attempting to spike the football, and that's where the next play would happen. So you see Cousins enthusiastically giving a play call, and to me that matters right here, because you also see that at no point during this, I'm going to rewind it and show it one more time, you also see at no point during this does Cousins look to his right. He just looks forward and then is getting ready to take the snap. To me that's important, because you see that Deshaun Jackson and Pierre Garçon are currently lined up right next to the offensive line. They're not lined up the way they were on the last play, which makes it clear they are not going to be running this fade play. But what's also important is that according to Jay Gruden, Cousins saw this situation and he panicked and he took a knee. But as I said, he did not look to his right, and also he enthusiastically called in the play call what was going to happen, which leads me to believe, I don't know, I'm confused. Because again, Kirk Cousins takes a knee, which I just don't understand. I don't know why you do this. I still don't fully get it. Again, he panicked and didn't even realize at first exactly what went wrong. I mean, it's very bizarre. You also see him then try and run once again, just like the last time, and again, still can't do it. So let's try to review exactly what happened and see what we can make out of this and see if we can try to understand what exactly happened, because it seems like the more I try to do research and figure out what happened, the more confused I end up getting. It's a very unusual situation. So let's review. Kirk Cousins, at first, he enthusiastically gives a play call. It doesn't appear to be just like, hey, we're going to go up there and just spike the football. So it doesn't seem like at that point he has the plan to spike the football in his head. And it's possible he did kind of glance over a little bit. Maybe he did glance over, saw it, and that's when he panicked. I could see that happening. But it should be clear, he can still spike the ball here. You're allowed to spike the ball. It would not have been a delay of game, even though the play was stopped. The play was stopped the clock had been stopped prior due to a delay of game by the Eagles. So again, a lot of people think, oh, he was just trying to spike the ball to kill the clock. The clock was already killed. The clock was already stopped. And also, there was still 24 seconds left. So if I had to give my best guess on what happened, it is that Kirk Cousins just maybe at some point on the walk up, it cut a little bit. Maybe he did happen to just see it barely what was going on. Maybe someone told him, hey, they're not running the fade. But still, you can just spike the football. So there really is no excuse for Kirk Cousins right here, no matter what you want to make. But there is just, again, complete chaos going on. How do you fail to spike the football twice in a row? I don't understand how that's even really possible. But what's amazing about this is not the only time Kirk Cousins has made this mistake with Jon Gruden. There was another example of a different but similar things. So I mentioned a podcast that Jay Gruden was on. Might have called him Jon Gruden. Can't remember now. But if I did, my bad. Jay Gruden. And the podcast that Gruden was on, he talked about, another situation where this not exact situation, but a similar situation happened where Kirk Cousins was going to get, in fact, I'll just let him explain it to you and I'll put graphics on the screen so you know what's happening.
We got the ball tied up before overtime, or in overtime. We had a chance, and Kirk, instead of spiking the ball, threw it out of bounds. We had a run called. It was a cover 0, and I was yelling, hand signal the bubble screen, which is the receiver blocking and the other receiver running a bubble screen. And they did not get it, so he threw it out of bounds. We got intentional grounding.
What's especially interesting about that to me is that at the beginning, he says Kirk Cousins should have spiked the ball there. Why should Kirk Cousins have spiked the ball there? If you missed exactly what happened, it was that there was going to be a run play, but they realized it was cover 0, and so they went with a bubble screen, which is a good play against that. They tried to get it quickly. The receivers didn't notice. Kirk Cousins threw it anyways, and it ends up being ruled intentional grounding, which was huge. If you remember this game, this was the famous or infamous, depending on how you look at it, Saints 15-point comeback late in the fourth quarter, and after the game was tied, the Washington Redskins had a chance to win it and weren't able to do so, largely because of this play. So again, it's Kirk Cousins and Jay Gruden having weird communication issues resulting in this kind of situation happening. So I don't know what to make of all this. I gotta be honest. I don't know where to go. I don't know what I've accomplished with making this video. In my head, I knew that there was this story about how Jay Gruden talked about this situation, explained it more. It could be a fun video. I did not expect for maximum chaos, which is what happened, because, again, how Kirk Cousins managed to fail the first time to spike the ball, why Garcon was seemingly willing to run a fade route the first time and not the second time, I don't know. Why Kirk Cousins ended up taking a knee instead of spiking the ball when he still legally could have spiked the ball, why this happened again several years later, they still weren't able to fix it. What on earth is going on? I'm completely lost. So, I hope I gave you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's kind of fun to make, kind of a weird situation that I feel like it's one of those no one's ever going to figure out exactly what happened, what went on in Kirk Cousins' brain. Weird situation. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this more unique video. I'm sorry I don't have a better conclusion for you. I wish my plan was to have a great conclusion. This was just weird. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Of course, as always, thanks for watching.